been so long since we talked. I want to welcome Birmingham Police Chief A.C. Roper to talk a little bit about what's going on in the city, certainly the fight against crime in the city. Tell me, first of all, how things are going for you in the fight against crime in the Magic City.
It's going extremely well. Every day is a challenge, but we're making progress. One thing about it, we knew it wouldn't be a sprint, but a marathon. And so now, 3 years into the fight that I've been chief, I can look back and say we've done some good things in Birmingham, but there's a lot of work yet to be done.
Your community outreach seems to be pretty good. Certainly coming in to the television station, talking about some of the people that we're looking for on the street, that you guys are looking for on the street. How does the community help when they see those people on TV?
Well, the community is really our strongest partner because we believe in the community policing philosophy. So we can't do it without the eyes and ears of the citizens of Birmingham. And so when we show pictures and talk about the people we're looking for, I have faith in our community that someone will contact us and let us know the whereabouts of that person.
Last week we were down at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, and Councilor Jay Roberson had a group of young people with him, and they were celebrating the 100 days without violence. And what he said, and this really struck me, he said in that 100 days no person under the age of 18 was murdered on the streets of the city. When you hear that, what does that say to you?
Well, it shows we're making progress because we have to change the mindset of our citizens. And so there are some who believe violence is the answer. And so I applaud Councilor Roberson for leading that initiative. It really helped us last year because one thing about it, the facts are, in 2010, we had one of the lowest homicide rates in the last 20 years. And actually, we're trying to pull the old historical numbers. We believe it goes back to at least the last 30 to 40 years. So no doubt about it, last year was a much better year in the city of Birmingham. We believe that if we can stay at it, we can really change the quality of life for our citizens.
When we talk about bringing in young people, because I thought that was what stood out to me, because there were young people there with him who kind of bought into this and got on board with it. When you bring them into that equation, fighting crime, what do you see? Do you think that young people are even thinking that they are a part of the solution?
I think now they are because of that initiative with the Pen and Pen group that Councilor Roberson led. We're starting to see young people stand up and take a stand. We've also done it with some of our outreach programs. If you see a crime, speak up. That it's your community, it's your world. So we need our young people to really make a difference because they know things we don't know. And they receive information we don't receive, and we want them to recognize that they have a responsibility for their community.
When they look to the leadership of the city, the police chief, the mayor, a councilor like Councilor Roberson, is there a buy-in in the leadership?
I think there is, and I think the mayor with the programs that he's pushing and his liaisoning with the young business professionals, the things he's doing in the schools. I'm in a school almost every week. Talking to young people. I talk about making wise decisions. I talk about the power of choice, that you have the power to really paint the rest of your life based on your decisions. And it's really impressive to see young people say, you know what, Chief, I can make a difference, or they run up with their cell phones and try to take a picture with the chief so they can show their friends and put it on their Facebook accounts and all those types of things. It shows that they recognize that we can do better. And so many of them have gone through things we never went through as young people. So many of them know friends who have died from violence. So many of them have attended funerals where their buddies and their friends were lying in that casket. So they've seen some things that we didn't see. And so I think because of that, so many of them are ready to make a difference.
You are in the schools, your officers are in the schools. What is it they see when you talk about the problems in the schools? What do you see? What are you seeing?
Well, we have really seen some challenges that are in the community that come into the schools. See, people will say, oh, well, such and such is happening in the school. Well, that's because it's occurring in the community. And so the kids will bring that problem with them. I'm often asked about gangs. Oh, does Birmingham have gangs? And my response is every large city has some type of gang activity. And if any chief stands up and says we have absolutely no gangs, then I'd really question the quality of the information. But the thing about Birmingham is our gangs are community-based. They're neighborhood gangs, the 14th Street Boys and the 15th Street Boys, but the 15th Street Boys don't even know about the 14th Street Boys and those type things. And so, but we really don't see a national nexus, a national connection to our gangs. So fortunately, we're not seeing shootouts among gang members because of colors and all those types of things. We have some problems, but not near as bad as they could be.
When there's an issue going on in the schools now, and I don't know if you're aware of this, because I think the superintendent has been dealing with it, but the macing of the students in the schools, and are you aware of that? And,
I am.
And what are your thoughts on that? Is it the Birmingham police officers?
It is. It involves the Birmingham Police Department. There is a lawsuit that's pending, so I can't say much about it, but what I will say is the chemical spray is one of our tools. It's part of our force continuum. It's much better to use spray than to have to use some other type of physical force involving a student. We'd much rather not have to arrest any students, but there are some people who come into the schools with their own agendas, who someone comes in because somebody talked to their boyfriend or girlfriend, all those types of things that can happen at a school. But our officers are well trained. And they do a fabulous job in the schools. And so we have a great partnership with the school system. I'm one of Dr. Witherspoon's biggest fans because I need him to do well, just like he needs me to do well, because education and crime have been the two biggest issues facing Birmingham.
When, I guess, I don't want to push too hard on that since you can't say much about it, but as far as the number of incidents, do they track the number of incidents, where the mace is used? I know some parents are upset about it, but I also know that there are some people, some parents in the community, and some teachers, I'm told, who feel like it is a necessary tool in the schools. I'm trying to relate,
yes.
But...
Well, when we track the incidents, and from school starting in August to December, we'd had a total of 7 incidents in the schools. Our officers had used spray 7 times in that 4-month period, almost 5 months, August, September. So from August to December, we'd used it 7 times. So surely it's not being used as a discipline tool, because if you only used it 7 times in that wide span of months, you're really not using it that often. And so the key is we look at each incident. Our officers are trained. We have a good, sound policy. And so we'll continue to do what we need to do to make the Birmingham schools as safe as we can make them in partnership with the Birmingham school system.
So we've talked about the young people, we've talked about the leadership in the city and your partnership. As far as the community itself, the older people who've been here and who want to see change and are seeing change, when you speak to them, I'm thinking about the weekends where you guys would go into the community and just walk through.
Yes, and we'll be starting that back in February. The first one is downtown on Saturday, February the 19th. We'll be praying for city government. But I am so honored to be chief because of our senior citizens. Because I just believe that every person deserves the right to sit on their porch, enjoy their retirement without neighborhood quality of life issues ruining that moment. And so they're some of our biggest fans. When we go out to community meetings, I call them my grandmamas and granddads, and the hugs and the thanks, and they're thanking me, but it's really thanking the officers that are out there making a difference. And so we need their support, because they're the eyes and ears of the community sometimes. They're sitting at home, they see what's out of place, and we just need them to call us, because if you call us, we're coming.
They are the street committee.
Yes, they are. And some of them serve in neighborhood offices as presidents and vice presidents and secretaries, and others, the head of the neighborhood watch group, you know. And we had an incident the other day where someone called in because there was an empty house, a vacant house, and someone came in to do some work, and they didn't recognize the truck. So they called the police department. When the officer got there, the neighbor said, "Well, I'm doing what Chief Roper said. I'm the neighborhood watch."
Yeah.
And, you know, she was like 70 years old, but she said, "I'm the neighborhood watch." Thank you, ma'am. We need that, and we appreciate it.
Well, I know that you are a product of Birmingham, and so when they see you, I know there's a certain amount of pride that goes with, as a community, people who poured into your life see how you've you've come back. You've come back and made a difference in the city.
Well, that was part of the call to do it. I wouldn't have taken this job in just any city because I knew it had a lot of challenges with it and a lot of expectations. But because it was Birmingham, that's what made me say yes. After a lot of prayer and consultation with my wife, I felt like it was time to try to do something for home. And I ride through the old neighborhoods now occasionally, and there's not many nights that go by that I don't wake up thinking about something we can do to make Birmingham safer. And that's what it's all about.
That is awesome. Chief A.C. Roper, anything you want to add?
No, I just thank you for this opportunity to allow us to speak to our citizens out there, and because we've made some good progress, but we have a lot of work to do.